You already know you should leave. You have known for a while now. Maybe it is the job that drains you every Sunday evening before the week even starts. Maybe it is the relationship where you spend more energy managing someone else's moods than actually living. Maybe it is a habit, a city, a version of yourself you have quietly outgrown. You know. And yet, here you are. Still. So the question is not whether leaving is the right choice. The question is why knowing the right thing and doing the right thing can feel like they live on completely different planets. This is one of the most universal experiences a human being can have. And it turns out psychology has a lot to say about exactly why you are stuck. Not because you are weak, not because you are foolish, but because your brain is running very old software that was never designed for the life you are actually trying to live. Let us start with the thing that feels most logical, the money argument. In 1985, two researchers named Hal Arkes and Catherine Blumer published a study in the journal Organizational Behavior and Human Decision Processes. They gave people a simple scenario. You have already spent $500 on a ski trip. Then you find a better, cheaper trip, but both are already paid for, and you cannot get refunds. The better trip costs less and would be more fun. Most people still chose the expensive one. Not because it was better, because they had already paid more for it. Arkes and Blumer named this the sunk cost fallacy. The money is already gone. It cannot be recovered. But the brain treats past investment like a vote for the future. The longer you have been somewhere, the harder it gets to leave, not because it is getting better, but because leaving feels like admitting that all that time was wasted. And that feeling is almost unbearable. Now layer something else on top. In 1979, the psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky published a paper that changed how we understand human decision-making. They called it prospect theory. One of its central findings is this: losing something hurts roughly twice as much as gaining the same thing feels good. Twice. So when you are weighing leaving against staying, your brain is not doing a fair count. Every good thing you might gain on the other side of the door gets quietly cut in half, and every loss you might feel, the routine, the familiarity, even the bad familiar, gets doubled in weight. You are running a rigged equation and calling it clear thinking. But the deepest pull is not about money or math. It is about who you are. Think about someone who has been a nurse for 12 years, or a mother in a difficult marriage for a decade, or a musician who has played in the same struggling band since they were 19. These are not just things they do. These are things they are. The psychologist Dan McAdams at Northwestern University has spent decades studying how people build identity as a kind of ongoing story, a narrative self. When you leave something you have been for a long time, you are not just changing a situation. You are editing your story. And the brain treats a threat to your identity with the same alarm it treats a physical threat to your body. Staying, even in pain, can feel safer than becoming someone you do not yet recognize. And then there is the plain, honest comfort of the familiar. In 2004, neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz at Cambridge University was studying the dopamine system when his team found that the brain releases dopamine not just for rewards, but for predicted rewards. The brain lights up for what it expects. A bad relationship you know deeply, a draining job with its particular rhythms, even an addiction with its reliable ritual, these provide one thing a better future cannot: certainty. The brain would often rather have a known bad than an unknown good. This is not stupidity. It is survival wiring from a time when the unknown usually meant a predator. Here is where the reframe lives. All of this, the sunk cost, the loss aversion, the identity threat, the craving for the familiar, it is not a character flaw. It is a design feature running in the wrong context. Your brain built these systems for a world where leaving the tribe usually meant death. It did not build them for leaving a job that is slowly hollowing you out, or a relationship where you feel invisible, or a habit that has eaten 10 years of mornings. Knowing this does not make leaving easy, but it does mean you can stop fighting yourself and start working with the actual machinery. So how do people actually do it? Research on what psychologist William Miller at the University of New Mexico calls motivational interviewing, developed through the 1980s and 1990s, shows something consistent. People do not leave when they are told to. They leave when they finally articulate, in their own words, the cost of staying, not the benefits of going. The cost of the present. There is a difference. The future is abstract. The present pain is real. When the present becomes undeniable, the brain finally agrees to update the map. And identity, that deep anchor, it does not have to be an obstacle. Research published in 2010 by psychologist Kristin Neff at the University of Texas showed that self-compassion, treating yourself with the gentleness you would offer a close friend, is one of the strongest predictors of someone's ability to make hard changes. You do not rebuild by erasing who you were. You carry what mattered, you set down what does not, and you let the new story begin, the only way any story ever does, with a single step into a chapter you have not read yet. You already know you should leave. Now you know why you have not, and now you know that the knowing itself, held honestly, without shame, is how it finally begins.